Hello and welcome to the second tutorial series on this channel. I hope you follow my Python tutorial, because for this tutorial you're gonna need Python. In this tutorial we're gonna go over how to build a website in Python using a web framework named Django. This episode will be for the setup only, but for the next episodes we're gonna go over how routing works, how views work, and how you create database models in Django. To start your project, you first have to type into your console pip install Django. If you have any problems with this, like pip doesn't work, then you could follow the first episode on my first Python video to see how to download pip and set up Python. Now you can write Django admin start project, and the name of your project I'll just call this tutorials. And this will start the project. Now you can cd into your project. You don't have to name it tutorials. I'll just use it for simplicity. And now you technically have a working Django site. So you can just write Django manage.py run server. Sorry. Python manager.py run server. And it'll run on this IP. You can also change this IP in the settings if you want to, but I'm not going to. And as you can see, it works. Now this is just the default site that you get to when you start a Django project. And we're hopefully gonna build our own sites. So now you can see Django working. Yes, our Django project is working, but it doesn't really have any content. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop the server real quick, and I'm gonna make a new project, a new app. Django has many projects, and within your projects you could have many apps. This makes it really easy to import someone else's app if you have to use it for something like JWT, JSON Web Tokens. And when you start a Django project, you start with this default app, which is used for things like settings and base URLs and stuff like that. But it doesn't really have any of your content on it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start a new app. And to do that, you just write Django admin start app. Sorry, Django admin start app. And I'm always calling my core apps just core. So as you can see, now we have a new app here called Core, which has things like admin, which lets you access the admin dashboard, your apps, which is some settings again, your database models, your tests, and your views. You can also add other things like serializers and URLs if you need that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a simple Hello World app. To do that, I'm going to make a URLs file in the Core app by just writing urls.py, and from there you can copy most things from the other urls.py file. So I'll just copy this. I don't need the admin thing. And now the way URLs in Django works is within your core app is your core URLs, which has routing to your core things, but you can also import other URLs files. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add another path. These are the paths of your project. And I'm gonna say, if this isn't fulfilled, if the user didn't write admin, I'm going to include core.urls. And what this will do is it will include the files from the core app. And reminding me of apps, when you add a new app to your project, you always have to add it to installed apps. So I'm just going to write core here because that's the name of our app. And in this URLs you have something called views, which I'm going to go into now. A view is basically a function that tells Python what to show to a user. It's what you use to tell the website what items on the database it needs. So I'm just going to make an index view here. And this is going to be a basic view, and it will return a HTTP response, which I need to import from Django.http import HTTP response, and it's gonna return a HTTP response that's gonna be hello world. And in my URLs now, I'm going to import from views import index. Yes, that's what my view is called. And here I'm going to run index. So if the user now writes, okay, what will work now is Django checks that the user checks if the user wrote admin. If it didn't, it checks the paths in the core.urls file, and here it checks if the user wrote hello, which will send it the index view, which will just be a basic hello world. But to make this work, we have to update our Django project, doing something called migration. And what migration? You could also add a name if you want. I'm just gonna give it the name hello, and write Python make my migrations. Make sure to write it correctly. If it's successful, it'll print out no changes detected. And to finalize the migration, you write Python manage.py migrate. And it works. In the start, you'll get a lot of these, but after that you won't get as many. And then run the server, obviously. Python manage.py run server. You can't migrate while you're running the server, by the way. Yes, it works. I'll open the URL. And as you can see, we don't get the starting page anymore. We get the 404 page because we haven't specified any page for any home page. And because we're the admins, we also see what URLs we have, which is the admin URL and the hello URL, which has the name hello. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write /hello to send us to the hello URL. And it gives us our hello world. And in this HTTP response, you just give it strings, but strings can also be HTML tags. So if I write h1 and end this tag and update it, it's an h1 tag. So now we have a basic hello world program in Python. But there are easier ways of doing this. Views shouldn't be used to render HTML. They should only be used for communicating between our models, which I'll get into soon, and our front-end files, which I'll also get into in another episode. Yes, I think we're done now. If you like this episode, like and subscribe, and see you in my next one.